So let me ask you this, because let's say someone now the benefit the beneficial how you say it again, beneficial
ownership information form, BOI.
Okay, so let's take a real world example here. So let's say that I am we'll say a dentist. Okay,
Right.
And I have my business that is owned in an LLC, taxed as an S corp. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I have practice building that is owned in a separate LLC.
Yep.
And let's say that I've also created a limited partnership for, to hold, some cash and other valuables or something like that.
Yep.
Okay. So now tell me, do I have to file for each of those entities?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And let me make it even a little bit more complicated. Sometimes when I sit down with clients and they've got wills and trusts, sometimes maybe they've got their stock inside of a trust. Okay. So that way they can avoid probate or whatever. You also have to include, because the trust now owns it, you have to include information about the trust, maybe about the trustee, maybe about the person that set the trust up, maybe about the beneficiaries. And on this form, you have to include a lot of personal information. You got to include the person's full name, full first name, full middle name, full last name. You got to include their home address, their birth dates, okay? So, I mean, they want a lot of information from you. And if you've got a number of different beneficiaries in there, that could be a problem. Or let's say you've got a parent subsidiary corporation. All right, maybe you own a piece of property and you've got, and that company has 3 or 4 different shareholders and they have it as part of their limited partnership or whatever. And so you've got, this one entity over here and it's owned by 3 or 4 different people, but they own it in different entities or different trusts. You've got to work it up the food chain. And you've got to include the information as to all of that stuff. So if somebody has a parent company that owns a number of different properties, maybe they own certain things 100%, maybe they own things 30%. Now you've got to include the other shareholders. And if those other shareholders happen to be entities, you've got to include information about those entities.
Wow.
Yeah, no, one of the FinCEN instructions things that they had on their webpage said that it could take up to 650 minutes to complete this BOI form, which is almost 11 hours.
Yes.
And that's what the guidance from the federal government on their own website says.
Who's got that kind of time to do that?
I mean, sometimes people get into, they have various things and they're asset protected and they have these corporations and this, maybe they have 3 or 4, 5 different corporations and things are owned by different entities and different trusts.
Yeah.
That's what they're talking about there. So now you've got a very complicated BOI form filing.
Oh my gosh. So I think to start with though, it's any entity that you own, any kind of business entity that you own. So that would include S corps, a C corp, an LLC, a limited partnership, anything that you've created, some kind of an entity. You have to fill out this beneficial form for, right? Yeah. Now they're just trying to get to the bottom of who actually owns the entity. Is that what they want? Like it has to be a person that they name.
Yeah. Okay. Eventually that's what they drill down to. And I've got clients that have Wyoming corporations or Delaware corporations or Alaska or whatever, and they do that for anonymity purposes.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Doesn't matter now, does it?
Doesn't matter now. Yeah.
Is this public information or is this just for the Department of the Treasury?
No. I mean, you can Google the Corporate Transparency Act. You can, and you click on a few things here and there, and boom, it pulls up. Wow. But I mean, you've got to know to do that in order to click on it or to do a search. But I've known about this law for about for about 3 or 4 years. I've been following it, and every year it's like, all right, well, we're not going to do it this year. We're not going to do it this year. And then finally, about the middle part of last year, they said we're going to go live January 1 of this year. So, I've been following a lot more closely, and we're doing a lot of the BOI form registrations. We've probably done, I don't know, 70-ish, maybe more. We're doing intakes every day to do the forms.
But you have way more clients than that. I mean, the percentage of people that are actually filling it out compared to who probably need to, what would you say that percentage is?
Well, that's a great question, Eric. I sent out a letter at the beginning of this year to all of my clients, telling them about this. We've done podcasts on our webpage. This is probably my third or fourth seminar or podcast that I've done.
Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of people, and some people go, well, I understand it's out there, but I'm going to wait. And what I'm afraid of is come like December 15th, I'm going to get inundated.
Oh, you are, aren't you?
Yeah, because, you know how people, it's human nature. Well, I'll put it off and I'll worry about it in December. People do the same thing with their taxes. And April 15th, that's just a date.
It's just a date. It's a deadline. It's just a deadline.